and said, you know what, this is going to be the best doggone class. You guys are going to get the most out of it, because I find with actually the more intimate settings, we can probe a little bit more. We can kind of push each other, and that's what the purpose of tonight is. Because if you haven't been to enough lectures, this is not a lecture. This is a workshop where we get to draw stuff out of you, current ideas, and that's my overall goal. I do, if you know me, I do have workshop requirements. Participation is kind of mandatory. It says encouraged, but I'm just going to come out there and say it's kind of mandatory.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's a requirement to be open to new ideas and challenge old ideas about how we've come about this healthcare system, and then willing to be ambassadors for natural health. Those are just my requests, if you will. So to start out, I want to give you guys a background of my story, why I'm here, why I'm standing in this building right now. I was introduced to chiropractic when I was 13 years old. I was playing very competitive hockey at that time, and one day at school I had an injury just messing around on the football field, and it ended up breaking my collarbone. It was the most excruciating pain I'd ever been to. So what happens, the school nurse calls up the mom, right? You know how this goes. Mom takes me over to the medical doctor, and they perform an x-ray, and they say, you know, son, you have a fractured clavicle, which of course is a broken collarbone. And the course of, have either of you guys broken a bone before?
Just a finger.
I've broken enough for all of us, so we'll just keep it at that, okay? Just wanted to see what I was relating to. So the course of treatment was, he put me in this funky looking sling, gave me some pain pills, and said, you know, son, you'll be out of hockey season, I'll check up with you in 8 to 12 weeks. That's how long these things heal. And then what do you suppose I was supposed to do after the broken collarbone healed?
Behave yourself.
I was supposed to behave myself, yes. Supposed to do it.
Take it easy.
Take it easy. I was going to have to go through some rehabilitation, right? They want to mend it back together. So I knew that wasn't really an option. So actually one of the teammates that I had on the hockey team, his dad was a chiropractor. And again, I'm 13 years old, so I don't know what a chiropractor is, right? I'm just kind of focused on school and just getting kind of through life, you know what I mean? And so he says, well, why don't you go and check out my dad, he's a chiropractor. So my dad ends up taking me to him. I bring my x-rays, and he says, well, obviously we have a broken collarbone, that's a given, but let me go ahead and perform an examination. I want to see if there's anything else that I might be able to help with. I say, great, do your thing. So he does an examination, and on his report he says, hey, you've got these, I couldn't remember at the time, it sounded like subway stations. You've got these subway station things in your neck and your mid-back. And I'm like, what in the world? All I heard was, but I think I can help you. And I was like, okay, great, I'm in. You got me, I'm in. Long story short, I started getting adjusted on a regular basis, and I was back on the ice playing full contact hockey within 5 weeks. No pain medications, nothing to that matter. And it was really, really cool, because at that point in my life I figured, whoa, there's a distinct difference between the two different models. I know a proactive model where we're going to let the body do the healing, or I know this model where we're going to take medication and let the medication, quote, do the healing. And so from then on, I would use chiropractic for pain purposes. I'd use it for all my sports injuries. You see, what my chiropractor, God bless his soul, he actually got me into chiropractic. What he failed to educate me is that chiropractic is a healthcare profession. And I didn't figure that out until I got into chiropractic college. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is so cool. Because at the time, all I wanted to do was get people out of pain. But what I found is that there's so much more to that. And talking about a healthcare profession, that's what kind of our purpose is tonight. So I want to give you a background on where I am. So the first question of the night, talking about doctors. Why do people go to doctors?
Because there's something, usually because there's something wrong.
Because there's usually something wrong. Anything that's pretty, yeah, because they don't feel good, there's something wrong. Exactly, pretty straightforward. How about when do people go to doctors?
When they need something.
Well, when you're bad enough.
Yeah, when you're bad enough, yeah.
Oh, I've got a good crowd tonight, don't I?
Yeah.
Wow, you guys have been in this workshop before? All right. Yeah, I like to say it when the lotions, pills, and potions no longer work. Right, when everything you've tried on your own, no longer works. You need something more powerful. Is that pretty safe to say we're all in agreement? Okay. I want to make sure we're all in agreement, because I don't want to force anything on you. I want to draw it from you, see what you guys think. So what do people expect from these doctor visits?
To make them feel better.
To make them feel better, but they came in, everything that they've tried on their own hasn't worked. So what are they really expecting?
A miracle.
Okay, they're expecting a miracle. Yeah, but let's say you tried everything. You've got a hip problem. You've got an upset stomach. You tried the over-the-counter stuff. What can a doctor do that you can't do on your own?
Give you prescriptions.
Exactly. Usually it's something that's unavailable to them. It's usually a more powerful drug to ease their symptoms.
Right.
Pretty
Yeah.
safe to
That
say.
makes you sick. Oh.
Yeah. So the question becomes: are there any harms with these medications?
Addictions.
What? Like what, Marty? I'm gonna steal the show here again. Like what, Marty? Do you want to give her the answer? Say this. That's funny. Like what? Just out of curiosity.
Well, yeah, addiction.
Addiction.
And it makes the pain go away, but it doesn't cure the problem.
Yeah. Okay. So masking the symptoms. What about are there any side effects? Are there any harms to taking these medications?
Oh,
Yeah, all kinds of side effects. It can affect your kidneys, your liver, your I don't know, many things.
Many things. Right. I always
it's almost scary.
Isn't it? And here's the thing, right? You guys have seen the commercials, right? You know
Oh,
which
yeah,
ones I'm
it's
talking
like,
about?
I'm gonna take that drug after listening to that commercial. You gotta be crazy.
So it's not just me saying you gotta be crazy, right?
No.
Because they paint kind of a pretty picture.
In the
You know,
beginning.
in the beginning, right? You've got the long, golden, flowing hair. They're walking through the fields, and the Labrador Retrievers in there, and then it introduces what Mrs. Jones has, and Mrs. Jones is either suffering from depression, high blood pressure. She's suffering from something, right? And the next picture is her consulting with her wonderful doctor with this long white lab coat, and he's a handsome young man. And he says, "Mary, you just take this." And then they introduce what they're trying to push, right? It's purple pill X, or it's Y drugs, and they put a cute name on it or something. And then, as long as Mrs. Jones takes this purple pill X, she can also have walking in the fields with the Labrador. That's the picture that they want to paint for you. But then, what happens about the last 30 seconds of that commercial?
All the side effects.
Okay.
You have to talk faster for the side
You
effects.
gotta talk real fast. They're paying good money, right? They want to get through this stuff, but they just can't get through all the side effects in that short amount of time. They're like, you could, so let's say a pill for depression. You could have suicidal thoughts. You could want to take your life. And I'm thinking, isn't that why I'm here, right? You're telling me the side effects could be I could want to, take my own life, but that's the reality. And then, it's a high blood pressure, but a side effect might be heart disease or early death or this sort of thing. And I was just like, I watch these commercials and I kind of look back like, am I the only one seeing it? Because the reality is, which is really sad, this stuff's flying off the shelf.
Oh, I know.
Which means people are in a huge need for a health reform. Health reform, meaning people taking responsibility of their own health. But I just thought that was kind of interesting. You've often probably heard that the cure is sometimes worse than the condition. You go in with a certain ailment and they give you something and something worse happens. So an interesting statistics that I really want to wrap your head around is that the total deaths from what's called properly prescribed medications is 130,000 per year. Now what properly prescribed means is that you took this medication for the exact prescribed diagnosis. It wasn't like an off-label. Sometimes they do that. I've known like 4 different people taking a Tenolol for different reasons. But it was actually prescribed for what it was supposed to be designed for. You didn't overdose. You didn't underdose. You took it exactly how it was prescribed. Still, 130,000 people are dying per year. Now, to put things into perspective, if you just had to guess, how many people do you think are in the city of Vancouver? I'll give you a close hint. You're staring at it.
Oh, 130,000?
About 130,000, give or take.
More than that.
Give or take. Yeah, you might be thinking Clark County, but just city of Vancouver. So city of Vancouver, so to put things into perspective, right? We've got this whole year that goes on. The city of Vancouver disappears, right? And if that doesn't weigh in your heart a little bit, then we got some issues. But just to put things, that's one statistics I could share a lot, but I just want to go over that one because that's what people say, oh yeah, I'm taking it was actually prescribed for the correct disease. So it's very interesting. So the question becomes then, you don't feel good, we've established. Everything you've tried on your own hasn't helped. So you make an appointment with your medical doctor with the hopes and expectations to be given something more powerful, but it has the potential to make you feel or experience a worse condition. The question becomes, would you be getting healthier or sicker as a result of that office visit?
That's a good question. I would say in a way you're getting sicker. You're replacing it from one to another.
Yeah. Interesting though, right?
Yeah, because like metformin is a really good one for that glucophage. When you first take it, it makes you get sick. I mean, it's violent.
Cool.
But that's supposed to help you.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah. To me, it's a scary drug.
Yeah, and a lot of them are. And here's my caveat. I want you guys to be very clear. I am very much pro medication when it has its need. For instance, I'm driving home tonight, I get into a fatal car accident, and my arm gets chopped off. Guess what? I'm not calling up the chiropractor and getting adjusted. You know what I mean? I'm going to the emergency room, I'm getting sewn up, I'm getting antibiotics, I'm getting what my body needs until my body can take over and do the rest. Where my issue becomes is the chemical dependence. My issue becomes when there's chronic diseases that mostly can be prevented. That's my issue with medicine. And that's kind of what our healthcare system is kind of going down the crapper right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we're trying to make more people dependent on these medications and make people less responsible for their own health. But I think we should take responsibility for our own health. So anyway, there's two types of care, and most people are familiar with the sick relief care. That's kind of what our current healthcare system, it's kind of coined the term. It's actually sick care. You go when you're sick, not when you're healthy. And then there's healthcare, and that's what we're familiar with here, is how to promote health. And if we're talking about health, we have to define health. So who wants to take a stab? If I were to say, Marty, how would you describe it? I want to know what health means. How would you describe that?
It's health, that you feel well.
Health is when you feel well. Okay.
You do things in a daily, eat well,
Okay.
exercise.
Okay. Health is when you eat well, exercise well. Health is when you feel good. Okay. Julie, anything you would like to add or replace?
I think it's pretty good.
Pretty good. Okay. Well, I'm going to give you a definition. This is from the World Health Organization. Health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Basically, health is when you function well, not necessarily when you feel well. I'm going to give you an example in just a few minutes, but I really want to paint that picture because so often, and this kind of goes along with my pain question of the day today, is that sometimes when we don't feel good, doesn't mean we're not healthy. For example, I think I'm healthy. My scans look great. I get adjusted. I eat well. I exercise. I think well. I'm praying. I think I'm kind of a healthy person. If I were to drop a brick on my foot, I'd be in pain and experience symptoms. Does that mean I'm not healthy? Interesting. Okay, so we can't always play with symptoms equals no pain, or no health. Interesting. So where does health come from? If that's what health is, where does it come from?
Your brain.
Health comes from your brain.
Yeah, your inner body.
And your inner body, okay.
Soul.
Yeah, it comes from the same place that makes your hair grow, your heartbeat, allows you to make decisions. You said your brain, which is what we're going to get into a little bit. You said, say that again?
Your inner health, inner soul.
Okay, I like that. Health comes from the inside out. Is that pretty close to what you're saying? Not from the outside in. So who here has gotten a cut on their arm or form or wherever and didn't apply a Band-Aid? You guys ever do that? Right? Once or twice, you know what I'm talking about? A little paper cut here or there. Did the cut heal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
Because your body heals it from the inside.
The hot body heals it from the inside. So compare yourself to a corpse. Same cut, same incision, same method of instrumentation. You cut yourself, you cut a corpse. Does the corpse heal?
No.
No. Because the life heals, because the body knows how to heal itself. Agreed? Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's good stuff. So are you guys both, I don't know on our entrance forms if you checked that you were familiar with the immunoglobulin cycle. Did you guys check that?
I don't even know what it is. So.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It wasn't on our entrance forms. No.
I don't remember that.
I just wanted to see the reaction on your face to see what was going on. So, immunoglobulins are those cells in our body that help clean up damages when we get cut, when we get bruised. Those are the cells that eat up those nasty things in our body to help our body heal faster. What about, do you guys know how many breaths per minute you have to breathe in order to stay alive in 1 minute? No. How about how fast your heart needs to beat, how many beats per minute it needs to beat to stay alive?
Isn't it like 50 or 60 to stay alive?
No, it's not that.
Oh.
So
I don't know.
I'm curious. You don't know what an immunoglobulin is. Mm-hmm. You don't know how many breaths it takes to stay alive. You don't know how many beats your heart needs to beat to stay alive. How in the heck are you still alive?
It's automatically.
It's automatically. Yes, and I'm not trying to downplay. I did go to extensive schooling, so I know these things. But no, because it's automatically. That's a great point, right? Do you ever wake up in the morning and you're like, whew, made it through another one? You know, our body are doing so many functions at once that we don't even have to think about. So I think that's actually a really cool thing. Our body is pretty friggin' cool, if I might say. So one of the things that our body does automatically, and we're going to go right into that term, it's called innate intelligence. And basically what that means is that's the intelligence that allows your body to do what it was supposed to do. That innate means inborn. And when that took place was right at conception. When our two cells came together, our body innately knew what to do and knew to grow them into 4 cells to 16, 4 times 4, 8 cells to 16 cells, and so on and so forth. Our body knew how to grow itself together and maintain itself. So what body system in our body do you think this intelligence formed first? Again, we're in the womb, formed first and is the master system of the body?
The heart?
Not the heart.
Circulatory system?
Not the circulatory system. Let's go through all the body systems. So we have the circulatory system, which the heart is played into. We have the digestive system. We have the immune system. We have the nervous system.
Nervous system.
There we go. Exactly. The nervous system was formed first, and it happens to be the master system in our body that controls the rest of the systems. And I'm going to tell you why. Because you said health comes from your brain. Brain's kind of a big deal, right? Are we all in agreement there? Brain's a big deal? Well, let me show you how it works. And I've showed you before, but I really want to get your head wrapped around this. So the brain is so powerful that it's cased in skull, right? You really got to do a humdinger to mess up that unit, right? That's why it's cased in skull. I've had 8 concussions. I know what it's like to mess up the brain. So you've had this brain, and the brain's a central command center. It sends messages down the spinal cord. Now, do you remember what analogy I love to talk about the spinal cord like?
Yeah, the subluxation.
That's the end result. What is that doggone thing? Good for you for playing it along. What did you say?
I said the pinched toes.
The pinched toes. Yeah, you guys are getting to the end result. Let me back up a little bit. You're like, I know he's looking for subluxation. Just say subluxation. Did you tell him to say subluxation? Just say subluxation and he's going to give us a cookie or something like that. Oh, you're funny.
Everything but subluxation.
Everything but subluxation, yeah. The spinal cord, okay, so if the brain's sending messages down the spinal cord, which goes the length of the spine, I like to think of the spinal cord like a freeway. So think of Mill Plain. There's cars going back and forth. They're going at a pretty decent pace. And where those cars need to go are the on and off ramps, which are these yellow spinal nerves. Now, where the spinal nerves go, those go to all the organs of the body, the skin of the body, the muscles, all of the sorts of things. So, like I've showed you before, the nerves up here in the neck. What do you think, just out of curiosity, what do you think the organs up here are?
Heart and lungs.
Heart and lungs are going to be in the mid-back because those are a little closer to here, right? So up here,
It's the eyes.
the eyes,
And
the ears, the nose,
Taste.
yeah, taste, the tongue. Okay, so you got it. And then down in this cavity, the mid-back, the nerves go to the heart and lungs. You said that. Anything else in here? What do we got in here?
Your digestive system.
Okay, exactly. We got our stomach, the top of the digestive system. Then what about the low back? What about the organs that kind of come out of there? Kidneys, exactly. Lower
Lower
intestines, reproductive, that sort of stuff. So the on and off ramps have different channels where they're communicating from. And it works a little something like this. Did you get a snack?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So you guys are both digesting right now. Would you agree?
Yes.
So here's what's happening in your body right this second. Your brain has sent a message to your stomach. It's gone down the spinal cord, out this spinal nerve to the stomach, and it says, stomach, how you doing? You doing okay? The stomach then sends a message back. Think of Mill Plain here, the car's going back and forth. The stomach sends a message back up through the spinal cord to the brain. It says, brain, you know what? I'm starting to digest. I could use a little stomach acid right now. Brain sends a message back and it says, stomach, you got it. I'm going to flip this switch. I'm going to turn on your stomach acid. Then you start digesting, right? You start breaking down your food. About 10, 15 minutes later, your stomach sends a message back to the brain, and the stomach says, brain, you know, I'm good. I have enough stomach acid. Go ahead and shut that thing off because I don't want too much acid. What would happen if the brain forgot to send that message back that said, okay, no more stomach acid? What would you experience?
Heartburn.
Heartburn, exactly. Too much acid in the stomach. A very simple message that could be missed very often. So when the messages are being sent back and forth, and again, this is going a million miles an hour right now. You're digesting, you're breathing, you're doing all these sorts of things. When the communication is going back and forth, is that not when your body is functioning well? Your body's doing what it was supposed to do, right? The messages are being sent, they're being relayed back and forth, lickety-split, just like that. You can hear me well, I'm communicating, there's no interference there. When there is interference in that communication, that's when health is going to be affected. Now, what is that called when there's interference here?
That's subluxation.
Yes! It is my vision. It is my ultimate vision to make subluxation a
Subluxation.
household name. It will be
Submarine station.
a submarine station. I've heard subway station. I've heard subway sandwiches. I've heard everything.
Well, I know. I didn't say any word.
No, you're fun. Yeah, it's funny. It will be a household name. I guarantee it. It's called subluxation. The Latin word means less light. So if there's less light in this room,
We could just say less light, you know. Like,
yeah, less light. It's just cooler. Subluxation just sounds so cool. This program will be back in shortly, and we're back. So it means less light. So if the lights in here were dim, we could still probably see each other, right? Just not as well. That's what subluxation is. Not a total communication loss. It's just not going the right way. So what in the heck is subluxation? I'm going to paint you a little picture. We got to do this together. Oh, I don't have a pocket. Okay, I want you to put your hands on your ears. Not tightly, just put them on your ears. So you can hear me, right? Just not as well. So if we've identified that we have a problem and we want to fix the problem, we can do a couple different things. I can give you a pill that might make you hear better. Would that help?
No.
Marty says no, Julie says no. What if we found out, you know what? Because our hands are on our ears, it's got to be a problem with the ears. Let's go ahead and remove the ears. Would that help?
No.
No. What if we just remove the interference?
That would help.
That would help. That's what subluxation is. It's a communication barrier between the brain and the body. Does that make sense? Now, getting into a little bit of the meat, just because there's two of you here, I want to explain what physiologically happens. There are stresses in our life. Let me make sure if I don't have that slide up. I have a different workshop. There are stresses in our life that cause our muscles to spasm. Case in point, have you ever seen, it's tax time, right? Are people walking around like this? Is there a mind-body connection? 100%. When there are stresses in our life, and I'm going to get to those stresses, it causes our muscles to spasm, specifically the muscles around the spine. When they spasm unequally, that means there is unequal pull on the spinal bones. That causes those bones to shift out of alignment, which causes pressure to be placed on those on and off ramps, which essentially causes a traffic jam in your body. So it's communicating, just not as well. That's what subluxation is. So how do we get subluxated? These are the stresses that I want to address, and I didn't get into these in my report because this is where I like to we'll go over these. Physical, chemical, and emotional stresses. So stresses of sitting, poor posture, whiplash, injuries, we're all in agreement those are physical stresses, right? You can see how those would affect the spine. Chemical stress is a little bit more difficult to explain. It kind of goes into the garbage in, garbage out. If we have poor nutrition, if we're smoking, if we're taking lots of medication, is that nerve system going to be healthy or unhealthy? Unhealthy, which is going to cause subluxation. Basically, if you're in your kitchen and you are stressing out the circuit that's in the kitchen, you've got the blender on, the microwave on, the dishwasher going, and the lights are flickering, and then all of a sudden it's too much load, what happens to the circuit breaker? It pops. It subluxates. It moves out of alignment. You guys kind of picking up what I'm putting down? All right, I've got like a gazillion metaphors, so just let me know if I've broken it down for you. Subluxation will be a household name, I guarantee you. Emotional stresses, that's what we were talking about before. Bad thoughts, financial stress, poor self-esteem, work stress, those are the stresses that go in between the ears. Those are by far are the worst kind. Because you can get adjusted all day long, eat great nutrition, but if you think poorly of yourself, if you have financial stress, if you have all those things working up in your what we call stress, the body's not going to be able to respond well to other things. So if that's what a subluxation is, that's how we get subluxated, that's what health is, that's where health comes from, what the heck is this adjustment thing? Well, the adjustment is the force delivered to that spinal bone in order to remove subluxation. Again, removing the hands from the ears so that the body can heal faster and function optimally without interference. Believe it or not, your body knows exactly what to do, it knows exactly when to do it, it knows exactly how to do it, just so long as there isn't any interference. Oftentimes, the interference is coming from the spine. That's why we analyze to see if subluxation is the cause of some of the dis-eases that your body's having. I make up words. You gotta be careful. So what my job is to detect, analyze, and correct those subluxations so that your body can heal faster and function at its highest potential. I always add this because a lot of people go, I'm here to get healed, I'm here to get healed, I'm here to have my body fixed. But it's also to function at a higher potential. The testimonials that we're getting today, these sort of days, are that, yes, Dr. Scott and his team helped me fix my shoulder, blah, 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 but I'm also experiencing things like more energy. I'm also experiencing things like increased immune response. My body is vibrating at a higher level. And that's what I really, really, really get excited about, because that's what not a whole lot of other professions can offer, at least not through anything we put in our mouth. That's what I get tickled about. It wakes me up in the morning to get to this office to remove subluxation and increase the body's response. It's also to prevent the nerve interference by making lifestyle modifications so that you can adapt. Because here's the deal. If we figured out that there's 3 main reasons why our body subluxates, but all we're doing here is just wiping up the puddle every time the roof leaks, then all I am is just a white flaky aspirin, and I'm just taking care of the symptoms. I want to make sure to fix the leak in the roof. That's why we are always addressing these 3 things, whether that's nutritional, whether that's working with your primary care physician to get off medications, whether that's making ergonomical changes or exercise recommendations, which we'll be doing very shortly, or emotional changes. That's where the true healing comes from. We want to do both, and that's why I think that we kind of stand out. That's because we make lifestyle modifications. So this is what I call a healthcare continuum. And up here is optimum health, and down here is death. And there's a spectrum in between those. And it goes something like this. First, there's physical and chemical and emotional stresses. We talked about those. Then comes vertebral subluxation. Vertebral just means spinal bone. Then there's asymptomatic pathology, which basically means you don't feel anything, but there's something wrong with you. Then there's symptomatic pathology, which means you feel something and there's something wrong with you. And then there's death. So I'm curious to where you think that our typical healthcare system, our primary care physician, where do they intervene on here? You guys were telling me this earlier. You go to a doctor when you...
Yeah, symptomatic pathology.
When you don't feel good. Odds are they find something. There's something wrong. Same question. Where do you think on this continuum the chiropractor, at least in this office, the wellness chiropractor, intervenes?
For me, it was the same one.
Yeah.
For many people, it's the same one.
That's what I was going to say. What's the same one? That's why.
For many people, it's the same one. I would say about 50% of people who come into our office currently have symptoms. The other 50% are somewhere in here. They either say, hey, I'm not really experiencing anything, but I'm under a lot of stress. I'd like to start getting adjusted. I don't know if anything's going on, but I'd like to get checked out. There might be something going on. That's the difference, is that's the wellness. So same, different question. The goals, I'm sorry, not different question. The difference between the approach of the chiropractor and the medical doctor is that the goals are different. The goal of the medical doctor, for the most part, again, I'm being very stereotypical, are just to make sure that this doesn't happen. We just don't want you to die. We just don't want you to get your sickness worse. The goal of the chiropractor, at least in this office, is to not only not have you die and experience more symptoms, but to get you back to optimum health, to get your body vibrating at a higher level so that you're nice and running marathons and looking like this guy, all that stuff. So that's the difference. So I want to share, I've already talked about my vision about having subluxation in the household. Our big vision here, our big health vision, is that our city of Vancouver becomes more healthy. That means people are healing naturally, they're getting off drugs, they're using less surgeries, and they're taking more responsibility for their health. The issue becomes, I can't do it alone. That's exactly why I have workshops, is to educate my members in here to be ambassadors for me, or with me, not for me, but with me. Because knowledge is power, right? But only when it's applied. So I know that you know someone who's, in that special someone who's either taking way too many medications, they've got too many symptoms, their health isn't where they want it to, and I want to give you an opportunity to get them evaluated. That's it. Click. After learning how to get well and stay well, is there one person you can think of that could benefit from an evaluation? Not necessarily care, just an evaluation, because what I feel is that everybody should be entitled to get checked out. One person.